all content shoots, Mr. Scottie Scheffler, Mr. Jordan Spieth. All right, my first question. I think the last time you were the number one player in the world, Jordan, was 2016, I believe. You're sitting next to the number one player in the world. What advice would you give as someone who's been there and to someone that is currently there? What would your advice be to Scottie Scheffler? What would you say to him?
Probably don't go 7 years without being number one in the world. It's a lot more fun when you are.
What would you tell Jordan Spieth at number one from 2016?
How much time do you have?
I got time. How much time do you guys have?
Yeah. No, I think that was a goal as a kid, but it wasn't you obviously want to hold on to it but it's not because you want to hold on to I never felt it was, I wanted to hold on to the ranking. It was, I want to win this golf tournament because I want to win this tournament, and that just kind of comes with it. He's playing the most consistent golf of anybody in the world in the biggest events and winning them. So that the rankings then show that. I was more obsessed with it in junior golf than I was professionally, but it was certainly a goal to reach it, and it is still. But via shot by shot, tournament by tournament, I actually don't really even know how they work. I know it's a 2-year cycle, but I don't know how it's weighted. I don't know how many points a major has versus a regular event. And so, in other words, it's play as well as you can, as often as you can, and it takes care of itself.
Does the ranking mean anything to you, Scotty?
I mean, it's a nice accolade to have, but as far as day-to-day stuff, no. I mean, it's nice to have that accomplishment, but at the end of the day, I don't get any strokes in the next tournament, and if I spend time thinking about being number one, I'm probably going to be out of there pretty quick.
I was going to say, what's the balance? Like, you can't ignore the heater you've been on lately, but hitting the golf ball. What's the balance, right, like of, I don't want to say staying humble, but like staying focused on it yet, acknowledging what the heater that you're on? Like, what's that been like to go through?
I just try not to pay attention to that kind of stuff. I've always been kind of a stay in my own lane kind of guy, and I've been fortunate to be surrounded by guys like Jordan and guys that have, kind of done this stuff before me that I can bounce stuff off of. And, I have a great caddy and Teddy that helps me out with all that kind of stuff, whether it's expectations or, how to deal with media, all different kinds of stuff. And usually just stay in my own lane and keep doing what I'm doing.
What's RV life been like for you? Do you drive this thing from event to event?
I've never driven it.
Okay.
We've ridden in it between events, Florida swings, Hilton Head to Augusta. It's been great. It's like having a hotel, your own hotel suite every week, but you get to put in your own bed and have it made up the way you want. I will say, like, the West Coast this year was pretty bad weather for the West Coast, and so it was kind of a mess there. It's a little more crowded in California, so we were a little further away at a couple events. And then when we got to Florida, the weather was fantastic, so we could open up the awnings, the TV outside, all the toys outside, and it's been really nice just having consistency week in and week out, and not relying on certain hotels or houses and stuff. But I'm not sure how long it'll last because we have a second one coming, and I don't see how you possibly do it with a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old on it at different sleep schedules and all that. So it may be short-lived, but it's been a blast this year.
I'm going to ask you guys to kind of riff on each other a little bit here, and there's a lot of commentary online just about Scotty's action, the foot action. It's different, it's unique, but we kind of hear the same stuff when we tune on TV as to what we see. How would you describe what has made his golf swing so successful? Because it looks unorthodox, I think, to some of us. I think you would probably hear that a lot, Scotty.
Well, I think the footwork is a result of what it's necessary for him to do for the consistency he has. He's got to get off that right side totally onto the left, and he's able to hit, play that super consistent kind of cut shot with the driver that he has, and then he's able to work the ball both ways at a very consistent level. I think the tempo, the set, Scotty's a grinder. He's always been somebody who, if anything, someone's had to pull him off the range versus ask him to practice more. And when that happens, I feel like what he's doing is he's just getting that same rhythm, that same tempo, making sure that the timing of when things are set. I'm speaking for him when he's right here, but to me it seems like, it's his way. He knows how it works for him. When I remember the same thing kind of happening to me on my left foot, how I roll off or chicken wing, And those were both weapons of mine that when I lost them a little bit, I was playing worse golf. And so actually getting them back is a better thing. You talk about Justin Thomas, the slow-mo of him being off his feet when he's hitting driver. Well, that's an advantage for him. He's using that ground force to push up. That's how he generates so much power. He just doesn't quite stay on the ground for it, which is pretty unique. But all these little things that are, call them, in quotes, not textbook, are weapons that need to be, I think, looked at that way when they're done as well as he does them.
Are you still as confused as you seem to be confused, Scottie, when Tiger was telling you about not taking divots with the swing? Because there's been many videos that I've seen since then that would disprove what he was talking about when he's flushing and he doesn't take divots. You looked confused in that video. Were you as confused as it looked?
Yeah, so that was really early in the morning, and it was my first TaylorMade shoot, and we had literally just gone from singing Christmas carols in like costumes. And then we go out to hit balls. I'd gotten in late the night before from a tournament, and now we're out on the range just warming up. I'm trying to like figure out what's going on, what I'm doing. And I look over, and Tiger's not making divots, and I was like,
"What's up with that?
What are you doing?" And usually he gives me an answer. This time he didn't, and so I haven't seen the video. I don't know what the look on my face was, but I'm sure I was pretty confused because I've asked him some questions in the past, and he's typically given me answers. And this time he was just like, "Do I need to make a divot?" And I was like, "I'm asking you, man. You tell me what."
Do you understand it?
I mean, I think to an extent maybe just his control at the bottom is so good, and he gets, maybe his hands in a position where he can have the arc so low to the ground early enough and he can still hit the middle of the face without making a divot. At the same time, how many videos have you seen him take a massive
huge
pelt
divots
with like tons of spin? So I think he was probably messing with Scottie to a degree.
That's what it looked
I think
like.
He had to have been.
You're trying to figure that out in the moment. I think it.
But
felt
I
like
think he can do anything. So maybe, maybe it was what he was trying to do at the time. I don't know. I haven't seen the video either. I just know that.
I'm sure there was definitely some level of him clowning with me at that time.
Yeah.
Do you guys like still are able? I've seen videos of guys playing practice rounds and kind of messing around with different shots and stuff, and it seems like I'm kind of amazed at you guys still seeming to be very curious about different techniques of the way to hit certain shots. Like, Scottie, do you feel like you're still learning how to do specific stuff? Because again, we're talking to somebody who seems like he has the complete package. Yet at the same time, I feel like guys are always tinkering and learning new techniques in a weird way.
Yeah, I feel like I learn a lot by watching guys, and now that we're out on tour every week, I get to play with guys that are playing their best golf, and so I get to learn a lot just by watching, and I feel like I can see a lot of stuff, and then if I ever have a question, I'll ask, and most of the time people will give answers. Sometimes they don't, but I always like kind of just figuring out that type of information. Like I've asked Jordan a ton of questions when we play golf here at home, just because it's a more relaxed atmosphere than in a tournament, but yeah, I feel like I'm still learning.
What's something you would ask him? Like, what's something you would want an example of, or technique-wise?
I feel like when we just play around out here, it's the conditions change. Like in the wintertime, we play this golf course, the greens are a little bit firmer. In the summertime, they're a lot softer, so you're trying to take off spin. And so I just get curious just about more so what's going through his mind on certain shots, especially when he gets around the greens and on them. And so, yeah, I love picking his brain.
Do you still feel like you're learning in that regard, Jordan?
Yeah, I think so. I'll credit my coach, Cameron, a lot for certain shots, especially around the greens where, it might be a new way to hit a bunker shot that he's figured out will help get it higher, softer, and land it shorter. When you get in trouble, it's more like shots when you're potentially in trouble or kind of different, like wider action. When you get around the greens, it's not a golf swing. They're all different chipping motions to create the loft and spin that you need or need to drop depending on the shot. So I feel like I learned quite a bit from him on that. I'll see some players do some things. I've historically it's been a character flaw of mine to be too stubborn to ask a lot of questions, thinking like I already knew how to do everything. And then you see some guys hit shots and you're like, man, I think I know how you did that. And I'll just, what were you thinking on that? And the thing is, like, for us, I could feel one thing, and if he felt the same thing, it could be totally different, right? So when you ask somebody about their feels on it, it could help, but it may just be like, oh, that's actually doesn't work at all for me. But it's still worth, asking those questions. I mean, Tom Kim asks a ton of questions. He's one that ask a ton of questions, but like I'm envious of that at his age, because I think he's got most every shot around the greens. That's probably the most underrated part of his game, but he'll still be asking how you hit him, even though I just watched him hit it as well or better than I just did, So I think it's something that even at 10 years in right now, it's useful for me to continue to try to do.
I feel like both you guys in a way are kind of big brothering Tom Kim a little bit here in Dallas. Does that seem right? You guys were at dinner last week. What?
I
Scottie?
think I've been dad, and Scottie's been big brother.
I think that's fair.
A quick break here to check in with our friends at Serve Pro. You've heard us say a lot of great things about Serve Pro. You never want to have to be calling them, but trust me, I've been there when you need them. I've got a great message from someone recently that said, hey, we had a flooding happen at our house. Serve Pro was top of mind because you guys have been talking about them so much. They will make any disaster like it never even happened. If your business needs a mulligan after a disaster, you give the pros at Serve Pro a call. They got over 2,000 locations covering 97% of zip codes nationwide. They're able to respond fast. They're there in an instant. They will make it, like I said, they will make it like it never even happened. ServePro.com or call 1-800-SERVE-PRO today. Again, they will cover from anything from fire damage, flood damage. If you have a problem, a local disaster in your home or your business, they will be there to help you out. 1-800-SERVE-PRO today or ServePro.com. Back to Jordan and Scottie. Talk to me, Jordan, a little bit about what I think it's fair to say. I think we've talked about this before, Scottie. That you were probably the 12th man on the Ryder Cup team in 2021.
I think that's probably an official statement.
What was your role in anywhere in that process? I'm curious if any of the players kind of were in the captain's ear to say like, hey, this dude's he's not even close to his ceiling yet, but he is the dude. Were you involved in any of that, or what was that process like?
Yeah, I think East Lake. I remember Strick coming out when I was playing a practice round with Justin and talking to us about it. And, I used a pick there, but Justin was automatically on. But I think I was close enough to where I think Strick kind of was like, you're good. It was it's a weird scenario when you still need a pick, but you feel like you're on it and they're going to pick you. Like right now, I think I'm at I think I just got passed by Keegan. I think I'm like 7th or 8th. And so it's kind of a similar scenario. We keep on talking about the Ryder Cup, but I'm not on the team yet. It'd be nice to get in the tops. Point being, I remember him being out there and both of us being, big-time Scottie bandwagon, saying,